I'll give a little bit of a briefing anyway. So welcome to our ADF Imbolc ritual. ADF stands for Arn Riaut Fain, which roughly translates as our own druidry, or a druid fellowship, if you want to make it alliterative with the English words. And in a nutshell, we are a religion of reciprocity. We give so that the kindreds may give back to us. This is not a tit for tat relationship. This is not a transactional relationship. It's more like the relationship you might have with friends or family. You know, you invite them over, they invite you over. You give them gifts, they give you gifts. But no one's really like keeping tabs or tracking things on an Excel spreadsheet, or at least I hope you're not, because that kind of violates the spirit of it. As we go, so the primary portion of the ritual then is about the giving of those offerings. And so the ritual itself occurs in sort of three large stages, and druids like threes, so you'll see threes pop up all the time. But the first stage of the ritual is where we kind of attune our energy and build the energy, and that culminates in the opening of the gates. Once we have opened the gates and created that sacred space, then we invite the various kindred to join with us. I'll explain the kindreds in a minute. We give offerings to the deities of the occasion. We give offerings to the deities of our choice, and we receive their blessings in return. And then the third portion of the ritual is the closing down of everything that we did in the first two parts. Now the kindred, there are three aspects to the kindred. We have the ancestors, the nature spirits, and the shining ones, or the gods and goddesses. And so that's just a way to kind of think about and give some structure to numinous beings that exist out in the world. So we have one set of our ancestors, which are, you know, basically people that have died and passed on. We have the nature spirits, which are animals and other spirits, faithful, that exist around us. And then we have the gods and goddesses, which are a little bit more powerful on the numinous end of things. But that's just one way to view it, and it doesn't mean that that is the only way to view it, for example. We also have several other threes. I'll go over a couple of them. We have three hallows. We have the well, represented here by a container of water. We have a tree, represented by a tree, and we have the fire. So the well, tree, and fire are all common across Proto-Indo-European cultures. And that's where we draw a lot of our inspirations from Proto-Indo-Europeans. So we have those as our hallows that we will be using later on during the ritual. There are also divisions such as land, sea, and sky. So we have that breakdown as well. Again, we tend to view things a lot in threes because Celts and threes just go naturally together. Let's see. A couple of practical things. We do not cast circles. We create sacred space, but we don't create a hard barrier. So if you need to drop out or leave for a moment for any reason whatsoever, feel free to drop out and come back if that happens, right? That's not a problem. Usually we do this in the public. In non-pandemic times, we would invite people all together. And so creating that public ritual, we wanted to make it free for people who, for whatever reason, need to step out for a minute and take care of something else. We will be giving offerings. So if you have a bit of offering to give to the kindred of your choice later on, that would be great. We'll also be doing waters of life. So if you have something that you can sip on, that would be fantastic too. Let's see, is there in? I will be doing the singing during this portion, during the ritual. There is one portion where there's a bit of call and response. And so I'll be motioning that with my call and your response, which is basically the same line chanted back to me. I won't be able to hear you because every one of you will be muted. But if you wish to join along in the singing and the chanting, feel free. We're druids. We tend to do a lot of singing. All right, it looks like we're ready to begin. So the very first thing is about not forming a relationship. So I'm going to give a gift to the outsiders, the outdwellers, so that they don't bother us during this time of ritual. If you wish, you can turn away from the camera like Kirk Thomas is doing. These are entities that we do not want a relationship with. I will still be speaking, so you should still be able to hear me. But again, we're not trying to create that relationship. So Outsiders, you who fought with our gods and contend with us to this day. We give you this gift, outsiders, and as a gift demands a gift, we ask that you leave us be during this time of ritual. Turn back to the camera when you're ready. We come from the mountains and the meadows and the moors. We come from the forests and the farms and the fields. We come from the cities and the towns and the seas. And we come to the fire and to the well and to the tree. We are warriors, wise ones. We sail the wine-dark seas. We are craftsmen and farmers. We pull ore from the mines. We are scholars and poets. We pluck songs from the strings. And we come to the fire and the well and the tree. We bring joy, delight, and song. We bring sorrow, grief, and silence. We bring honor, faith, and praise. And we come to the fire and to the well and to the tree. Let us make the first offering to the Earth Mother. If you can touch the ground, please do so. If not, feel free to make an energetic connection like I am doing with my hand here. Earth Mother, all that we have comes from you. You give us nurturing sustenance. You give us shelter. You give us everything. And today we would like to give you a little bit of gratitude and give a little bit back as well. So Earth Mother, we give you this gift. Earth Mother, accept this offering. Earth Mother, we honor your body, Earth Mother. We honor your bones, Earth Mother. We sing to your spirit, Earth Mother. We sing to your stones, Earth Mother. We honor your body, Earth Mother. We honor your bones, Earth Mother. We sing to your spirit, Earth Mother. We sing to your stones. Our next offering is to the god of inspiration, Bragi, in the Norse tradition. So Bragi, best of bards, honey-tongued, we ask that you give us this gift of inspiration, the gift of eloquence, that our words might find favor with the kindreds on this night. And in return, in honor of your kinning, we give you some of this sweet, sweet, slow-pouring honey. Bragi, accept our offering. Welcome to the Cascadia Grove ADF Imbolc Rite. Cascadia is based out of Seattle, and here in Seattle, while it is still fairly dark, just a couple of days ago, we passed the point where the sun now sets after 5 p.m. This is a good thing. The sun is returning. However, it is still cold. It is still wet. And winter is still very definitely upon us. And so that is why today we are offering and we are inviting an offering to Thor, a friend of humanity, a god of great cheer. We ask him to come, we're going to ask him later to come to us and give some of that great cheer that we might make it through these winter months a little bit more easily. And with that in mind, I ask you to make yourself comfortable. Get yourself ready for a meditation, and when you're ready, close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Breathe in and breathe out. With your inner eye, gaze upon the room around you, wherever you happen to be. Gaze upon the chair or whatever you are sitting upon. see yourself in this room, this comfortable place. Hear the ambient noise that is around you. And with your inner eye, now see a mist start to form in this room. A thick mist, a cloying mist. You can feel it cool and damp on your skin. And it obscures your vision so that you can perceive nothing but yourself and the mist. Breathe. As you breathe, see the mist now start to part, and you find yourself in a grove of trees. The grass is soft under your feet. The sun is warm on your back. You can hear some birds singing in the trees among them. You can feel the breeze lightly on your face. And as you breathe in, you breathe the soft smell of a meadow with trees around it. Glance around you until you see one tree that is larger than the rest. An ash tree, the world tree. This is Yggdrasil. Walk over to the world tree. And as you approach the world tree, make contact with it. Put your hand on it, maybe give it a hug, lean up against it, and rest yourself against it, whatever you wish. Feel the power thrumming underneath the bark of this world tree. And now ask the world tree if it will take you north. Not north on the earth, but north from the earth. And as you make your request, you see the air start to shimmer around you, rainbow-colored shimmering, until there's nothing but you, the tree, and the rainbow light. As the shimmering starts to fade, you find yourself in a cold land. There is snow and ice everywhere. The light is dim. This is the land of ice, or Niflheim. Step out into this land, away from the tree for a moment. And as you stand there, you can feel the cold ice underneath your feet. As you stand there, you can feel this cold drawing up into your feet, into your legs, and cooling for a moment in the cauldron of your loins. And as you stand there and breathe, you can feel this cold moving up through your torso and cooling for a moment in the cauldron of your heart. And as you stand and as you breathe, you can feel this cold moving up through your shoulders and your neck and cooling for a final moment in the cauldron of your head. And as you stand there and as you breathe, you can feel this cold flowing up from your feet all the way to your head and flowing up and out through your head, through your hands, and back down into the land. This is the power of ice, the power of potential, the power of stillness. Feel that power coursing through you, flowing through you. And now hold on to a little bit of that power of ice, and walk back to the world tree. Make contact again with the world tree, the same way you did before. And now ask the world tree to take you south. Not south on the earth, but south from the earth. And as you make your request, the air starts to shimmer around you with rainbow light until there is nothing but you, the tree, and the rainbow light. As the shimmering light starts to fade, you find yourself in a world exactly opposite from the one before. This world is hot. There's fire. The sun is beating down on you. Everywhere you look, you see orange and red and yellow. This is the land of fire, the land of Muspelheim. Step out into this land, away from the world tree for a moment. And as you're standing there, you see the fires around you. Gaze upon the sun above. It is bright, but it will not blind you. And as you gaze on this sun, see a ray of its light shine down and enter into your head. And feel that energy moving into your head and mixing with the energy, the power of ice, and cooling for a moment in the cauldron of your head. As you breathe and as you stand there, feel that power move down through your neck, through your shoulders, into your torso, mixing with the power of ice and cooling for a moment in the cauldron of your heart. And as you breathe and as you stand there, feel that power move further down your torso, mixing with the power of ice until it cools for another moment in the cauldron of your loins. As you breathe and as you stand there, feel this power flow from your head, through your torso, down your legs, and out your feet until it comes out your feet and back up, joining to the sun. This is the power of fire, the power of movement and action and heat. Feel the power of fire within you. Feel it mixing with the power of ice. Feel the two swirl around inside your body. And now, keeping both of those powers with you, walk back to the world tree and make contact with it again in the way that you did before. And now ask the world tree to take you back to Midgard. And as you make your request, the air starts to shimmer around you in a rainbow color until there's nothing but you, the tree, and the rainbow light. After a moment, the shimmering light starts to fade and you find yourself back in that grove of trees with the world tree, one tree among others, once again. Thank the world tree for your travels and step back into the grove, walking on the grass, feeling the sun and the breeze and hearing the birds. Stand for a moment in this grove and feel within you the power of ice and the power of fire that you just took with you, that are always there within you, that are the stuff that magic is made of. And now as you breathe, see the mist forming around you once again, thick and cloying, obscuring the trees, obscuring the grass, till there is nothing but you and the mist. And as you breathe, see that mist part once again, and you find yourself back in your room, back on your chair or on your bed, with the noise of the world around you. When you are ready, open your eyes and we will continue with the ritual. Let us establish the cosmos with the three hallows. By fire and by water, between the earth and sky, we stand like the world tree rooted deep, crowned high. Gather we at the well, the eye and the mouth of worth. Come we now to the well, and silver we bring. Come we now to the well, the waters of rebirth. Come we now to the well, together we sing. By fire and by water, between the earth and sky, we stand like the world tree rooted deep, crowned high. We will kindle a fire, bless all, and with harm to none. We will kindle a fire and offerings pour. We will kindle a fire, a light neath the moon and sun. We will kindle a fire, our spirits shall soar by high fire and by water. Between the earth and sky we stand like the world tree rooted deep, crowned high. Gather we at the tree, the root and the crown of all. Gather we at the tree, below and above. Gather we at the tree, together we make our call. Gather we at the tree in wisdom and love, by high fire and by water. Between the earth and sky we stand like the world tree rooted deep, crown high. By the might of the water and the light of the fire, this grove is made whole and holy. By the might of the water and the light of the fire, this grove is made whole and holy. By the might of the water and the light of the fire, this grove is made whole and holy. The waters support and surround us, the land extends about us, the sky stretches out above us. In the center burns a living flame. May all the kindreds bless us. May our worship be true. May our actions be just. May our love be pure. Blessings and honor and worship to the Holy One. Let us call upon a gatekeeper now to help us with the opening and the closing of the gates. So I call upon Freya, Lady of the Vanir, you who taught your magic to Odin, you whose chariot is pulled by cats. I don't want to know how you do that. You who can take the form of a hawk and fly through the skies. You who have the first choice of the dead on the battlefield. Freya, we call to you today and ask you to come to us and aid us. Be our gatekeeper. Help us open the ways and close the ways that we might commune with the kindreds. And in return, we offer you this chocolate. Freya, accept our offering. Gatekeeper, open the portals between the gods and mortals. Power freely flows as our magic grows. Open the gates, 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 open the gates. Let the fire open as a gate. Let the well open as a gate. Let the tree open as a gate to all realms and all worlds. With the aid of Freya, let the gates be open. The gates are open, children of Midgard. The kindreds can see you and hear you more clearly now, so be mindful of what you do and what you say. Let us now invite the kindred that they may join with us. First, to the ancestors. Ancestors, ancestors of blood, ancestors of spirit, ancestors of this very land. We invite you to join with us today at this high rite. Lend your might to ours and join with us in this ritual. And in return, we give you this offering. Ancestors, accept this offering. From far beyond the mortal plane, mothers and fathers of old, we pray that you return again, mothers and fathers of old, to share with us the mysteries and secrets long untold of the ancient ways we seek to reclaim, mothers and fathers of old. Close your eyes, children of Midgard, and with your inner eye, look around you. You see them gathering at the edge around us, the ancestors. Some of them you may recognize, some of them you may not, but see them and welcome them. Ancestors, we welcome you. Open your eyes again. We now invite the nature spirits to join with us. Nature spirits, you who crawl on the land, you who swim through the waters, you who fly through the air, you who are rooted to this very place. Nature spirits, we invite you to join with us on this high day ritual. Lend your might to ours and aid us in celebrating Imbolc. And in return, we give you this offering. Nature spirits, accept this offering. Fur and feather and scale and skin, friendly spirits are welcome in. Leaf and stone and fey folk too, may we seal our pact with you. It's the stream of life that flows through us all. The babbling brook is nature's call. Interweave through the web of life are we. Come back to the sacred tree. Close your eyes again, children of Midgard, and you see around you the ancestors, and they part ways to make way for the nature spirits. Some of them are crawling, some of them are slithering, flying, swimming. Some of them are right here. Nature spirits, we welcome you. And open your eyes. We now invite the shining ones. Shining ones, gods and goddesses, you who give us guidance, you who give us aid and succor, we ask you to join with us during this time of ritual. Lend your might to ours and help us celebrate this day of Imbolc. And in return, we give you this offering. Shining ones, accept this offering. Hail all the gods, hail all the goddesses, hail all the holy ones. We dwell together, powers of the sky, powers of the sacred earth, powers of the underworld. We dwell together. Hail all the gods, hail all the goddesses, hail all the gods and goddesses, hail all the gods, hail all the goddesses, hail all the holy ones. We dwell together. Close your eyes once again, children of Midgard, and see around you the ancestors and the nature spirits, and watch as they part ways so the shining ones may join us. 12 feet tall, some of them carrying weapons of war, others carrying drink, others with nature spirits surrounding them. Shining ones, we welcome you. Open your eyes again, children of Midgard. It is now time to call upon the god Thor, the friend of humanity, and he of good cheer. Before I do that, I would like to relate a little bit of a story, one of the myths that involves Thor and his exploits. So it happens that one day Thor and Loki and their servant Thialfus, who was known for his ability of running, he had not lost any race up until this point. So Loki and Thor and Thialfi were all adventuring along together. They had come upon a couple of adventures, and they now came upon a large, large castle. They had to strain their necks to see the tops of this castle. And they entered this castle, they entered the main hall, and they found in the main hall feasting and merrymaking, men of great stature. And at the end of the hall was the king, King Utgar Loki. And King Utgar Loki said to them, "Hail and welcome. Who do I have that has come here?" And so they introduced themselves. "I am Loki of Asgard, I am Thor of Asgard, and I am Thialfi of Asgard." And Utgard Loki said, "Well, we welcome you to this feast, but first you must prove your worth, for we only allow those to feast with us who excel all others at something." And so Loki went first, and Loki said, "Well, I will contest with anyone here in a contest of eating." And Utgard Loki said, "Well, that sounds excellent. Well, why not we have my friend here, Logi." There's a lot of names that sound the same here. But my friend here, Logi, will have a contest, an eating contest with you. And so they set forth the trough and they filled it with meat. And they set Loki on one end and Logi on the other end. And both of them started eating at the same time. And they were ravenous and they ripped through that food. And they met in the middle together. And when it was done, they looked back upon what Loki had eaten. And Loki had eaten every scrap of meat that was in the trough. But Logi had eaten every scrap of meat, every bone that the meat was on, and had even consumed the trough itself. And so Loki was claimed defeated in his contest. And then it was time for Thialfi to name a contest. And Thialfi said, well, I have never lost a foot race. And so I will contend with anyone here in a foot race, a race of speed. And the king, Utgar Loki, said, well, that is fantastic. My friend here, Hugi, will race with you. And so Thialfi and Hugi lined up, and Hugi was short of stature with stubby legs. And Thialfi thought that this race would soon be over. But little did he know it would be over faster than he even realized. For Hugi pulled ahead of him and finished the race and looked back on Thialfi, who was only halfway done. And to make a long story short, Thialfi raced Hugi twice more and lost dramatically each time. And so now it was left to Thor. And Utgar Loki said, Thor, I have heard of your exploits. What would you like to try? And so Thor said, I will contend in a contest of drinking. And Utgar Loki said, excellent, and clapped his hands together, and a drinking horn was brought into the hall. And Utgar Loki handed this horn to Thor and said, many men have been able to drink this in one go. Some men take 2 drinks to get to the bottom of it, but there is not a man that I have seen who could not finish this in 3 draughts. And so Thor readied himself and took a big gulp of air and started to drink from this horn. And he drank, and he drank, and he drank until his thirst was quenched, and it was a mighty thirst because remember, they had been traveling and adventuring. And he drank some more, and he finally came up for air and looked down at the horn, and it had gone down a fraction of an inch. And Utgar Loki said, oh, Thor, come now, you can do better than that. It is never wise to prod Thor, for he tends to take such things as an insult. And so Thor readied himself again, took a huge breath, an even bigger breath than before, and put the horn to his lips and started to drink. And he drank, and he drank, and he drank more than even he thought he could drink. And when he was done, he lowered the horn, and it had gone down less than it had before, although you could now carry it without spilling too much of it. And so Utgar Loki looked at Thor and said, come now, Thor, surely you are holding back on us and making us think that it's going to take you much more than 3 efforts, when on the 3rd effort you were easily finished it off. And so at this, Thor grew angry, and he took a deep, deep breath, and he began to drink. And he drank. And he drank. And he drank longer than he thought possible. And he drank longer than anyone in the hall thought possible. And when he finally came up for air and turned the horn down, the level of drink had gone down, but it was nowhere near empty. And so Thor said, I am done. I cannot drink anymore. And Utgar Loki said, come now, Thor. I thought you were impressive. I thought you had feats to your name. He said, is there anything else you would like to try? And Thor said, I will try anything else that you can throw against me. And so Utgar Loki says, well, there is a game that some of the lads around here partake in from time to time. And that game is trying to pick up my cat. And at the sound, a gray cat padded into the hall. A small cat, a kitty cat, if you would. And so Thor readied himself and walked over to the cat and leaned down and picked up the cat. And as high as he could pick that cat, the cat's back arched to meet him. And so Thor lifted the cat, lift it as much as he could over his head. And when he was straining on his tiptoes, using every muscle in his body, the cat's front paw left the ground. And at this, Utgar Loki said, "Oh, come now, Thor, that's the most you can do, and the cat's paw has just barely left the ground. Like, surely this is only a problem because you are so small and so slight of stature compared to the men around here." At which point, as you can guess, Thor grew angry. And he said, "I will fight any person in this hall. Just bring them down here and they will meet their match." And so Utgar Loki said, "Well, before you fight anyone in the hall, why not you contend with my nurse? And if you can beat her, you can have your pick of anyone in the hall that you wish to fight." And so Utgar Loki called his nurse into the hall, and into the hall shuffled an old woman, hunched over and frail, slight. And Thor thought that this would be an easy match, and so he goes up to her and he starts to wrestle with her. But he finds that the more he struggles, the more solidly she is in place. And he struggles and he struggles and he can't budge her, not an inch. And then she starts to move and she starts to wrestle back. And Thor is thrown off his balance and he goes down on one knee. At this point, Utgar Loki steps in and calls a halt to the match and says, "Oh, come now, this match is over. Come now, Thor, if you can't do any better than this with my nurse, then there's no sense in having you fight anyone else in the hall. But it is late. We have feasted. You have contested. Let us all go now and spend the night." And so Thor and Loki and Thialfi were given room for the night. And upon waking, they walked back into the hall where there was food and drink aplenty. They were allowed to feast with the host. And then when that was done, they went on their way. And Utgar Loki escorted them out of the hall and out of the castle. And when they were outside of the castle walls, he turned to them and said, "So, how was your stay?" And Thor turns to him and says, "Well, you fed us and you gave us drink and you gave us room for the night. I cannot complain about any of that, but to be honest, I feel like I have lost such face with these contests, and you will think that I'm a man, a god, whatever, of no account, of little account, because I could not achieve any one of the contests you set before me." And so Utgar Loki said, "Let me tell you what was really going on." He said, "You three walked into our halls and I feared for the life of myself and my host. And so I used trickery to defend us. I set Loki in an eating contest against Logi, but Logi was really wildfire. So there was no chance that he was going to be able to out-eat a wildfire. I set Thialfi to run against my friend Hugi, but Hugi was really my thought. And there is no person on earth fleeter than the movement of thought." He said, "And you, Thor, you actually impressed all of us, and let me explain. For when you drank from the horn, what you could not see is that horn was connected to the sea, and so you were drinking from the oceans. When you get to the shore next, you will see how much you actually drank." And as I put in an aside here, they use this to explain how the tides actually came to be, was Thor drinking from the ocean. And then Utgar Loki goes on and says, "And my cat was not really a cat. It was really the Midgard serpent, circling the world, huge, incredibly long. And when you lifted its paw off the ground, you terrified every person in that hall." He said, "And finally, the old woman that you wrestled against was old age. And there is not a person alive or who shall ever be alive who, should they reach old age, shall not be defeated in the end by old age. So the fact that you only went down to one knee impressed us with your strength." And he said, "At this point, I had to defend myself and my hall with trickery. If you ever come again, I will defend it with even more trickery. So I hope not to see you ever again." And he disappeared like that. and Thor and his companions went on their way. But that is a short story explaining the exploits of Thor and Loki and Thialfi. And so now, let us call to Thor and invite him to join with us in this ritual. Thor, friend of humanity, smiter of giants, red-beard, red-eyed, you who bring us good cheer and are a friend to all. We invite you here, Thor, to this ritual, to join with us. Lend your considerable might to ours and help us to celebrate Imbolc. Lend your good cheer to us that we might survive the next few weeks and the next couple of months in a friendly way. And in return, I offer you this beer. Thor, accept this offering. Close your eyes one more time, children of Midgard, and gaze around you. And you see around you, with your inner eye, the ancestors, the nature spirits, and the shining ones, and they part way so that Thor may join us. And he is mighty, large, muscled, carrying his hammer in one hand and a drinking horn in the other, with a smile on his face and a red gleam in his eye. Thor, we welcome you. Open your eyes again. And at this point in the ritual, it is time for your own offerings. So I will sit back for a moment, give you a couple of minutes. Feel free to make offerings to the deity or deities of your choice. I did mention before that we take our inspiration from Proto-Indo-European deities, but if you wish to make an offering to someone else, say someone in the Egyptian tradition, that's perfectly fine. And at this point, it's kind of what you will. So I will give you a couple of minutes and be silent. Give you one more minute. If you need to get some waters of life, this would be a good time to do so. All right, let's continue on with the ritual. With the aid of Freya, we have opened the ways. We have made our offerings with devotion, love, and praise. We stand before you now with our hearts ablaze. Kindreds all, accept our sacrifice. And if there are any among the kindred that we may have offended, either by misspeaking or through omission, please know that our intentions were pure and we meant no offense. And if you would, accept this as recompense. Now we get to what I always think of the fun part of the ritual. So I get to pull the omens. Got my set of runes here, and we will see what the ancestors have to tell us. Whoa. The first omen from the ancestors is Wunjo. And I will explain these and describe these in a minute for those not entirely familiar with the runes. The second omen from the nature spirits is Ingwaz. And then the final omen from the shining ones is Manaz. So Wunjo from the ancestors kind of looks like a P, but a little bit more angular because these are the runes after all. And Wunjo is typically the rune of joy. It's usually a good rune. It's an excellent rune. I was very happy to see that one come up first. The second rune is Ingwaz. Ingwaz looks kind of like two greater than signs opposite and then crossed over each other. And Ingwaz, it refers very often to like a creative energy, like and beginnings and something being made. And then Manaz looks like two tent poles with an X crossing guy wires in between. And so Manaz typically refers to like the human condition or humanity in general. And so putting that all together, I see a beginning of new joy for humanity, which I could not ask for a better omen any time in the last 12 months. Do we accept this omen? And I see some nodding heads. Good, because I accept this one too. All right. So, grab your waters of life. We're about to charge them with the energies of Wunjo, Ingwaz, and Manaz. So, as in the ways of old, we have given our gifts freely. And as in the ways of old, the gift is given to us in return. We will drink deeply of the cup of inspiration. Let our cups be filled with the power of Wunjo, the power of Ingwaz, and the power of Manaz. Kindreds all, we have joined with you together between the earth and sky. We have brought our offerings. We have made our sacrifice. We now ask for your blessings upon us. Behold, the waters of life. I say again, behold, the waters of life. I say a third and final time, behold, the waters of life. Pour the waters, raise a cup. Drink your share of wisdom deep. Strength and love now fill us up. As the elder ways we keep. Back to the river, back to the sea, back to the ocean, home to thee. Back to my heartbeat, back to my veins, back to my heart, all the same. And now we come to the point where we are unwinding what we have begun. So let us thank the deities that have shown up, the kindreds that have shown up, and the other Earth Mother at the end, like we started with. So Thor, for lending your might to ours, for being our friend, for joining with us at this ritual, we say, Thor, we thank you. Kindreds all, ancestors, nature spirits, and shining ones, for giving us guidance, for giving us companionship, and for being there with us both in this time of ritual and out. We say, kindreds, we thank you. And now, closing as we opened, with your inner eye, see the gate of fire, the gate of the well, and the gate of the tree standing open before you. And just as we opened the gates before, now we must close the gates, 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 close the gates. Let the fire close as a gate. Let the well close as a gate. And let the tree close as a gate to all the worlds. With the aid of Freya, let the gates be closed. And just like that, we are back in Midgard. But we are not done. Freya, for coming to us as our gatekeeper, for helping us open the gates and just now close the gates, and for giving us aid and guidance when you will. We say, Freya, we thank you. Bragi, for giving us the gift of eloquence during this ritual, for helping me not stumble too many times, and for helping our words find favor with the kindreds. We say, Bragi, we thank you. And if you can touch the earth, do so. Otherwise, you can feel free to make an energetic connection like I am now. Earth Mother, for all that you've given us, for all that we are, for all that we have, for all that will come back one day to you. Earth Mother, we thank you. And as this rite is coming to a close, we will sing one last song. And at the end of the song, we will say the word ghosty as a one final cheer. Ghosty is a Proto-Indo-European word, which is the same root as guest and host, and encapsulates that reciprocity that we have in our religion. Walk with wisdom from this hallowed place. Walk not in sorrows, our roots shall e'er embrace. Let strength be your brother, and honor be your friend, and luck be your lover until we meet again. Ghosty! And with that, the rite is ended. Thank you so much.